Oh no, the borders are crazy in this one. They'll be fine for now. I'll maybe try and crop this later, like for the next stream. Assuming we do this over multiple streams. Because again, my kind of rules with the wheel are that we're going to try every game that comes up on it, but if we decide it's just not, if I'm either really hating it or if people in chat really seem to be not liking it, I'm just gonna drop it. But hopefully this won't be, you know, what happens there. Give me a second. Good menu music though. It's kind of funny it says Namco Bandai on the credit, on the like copyright thing at the bottom. Because on the box, it does not say Namco Bandai anywhere. Like, see if I switch to this one. There's no Namco Bandai on it, it's a Rising Star Games. I guess they just didn't bother updating the copyright on the screen for it. I think it's just that they didn't publish it here. Right, we have a pointer, which is always good. We'll keep the English voices. Probably want message speed to be relatively high, right? Save settings. I quite like this pointer, the little kind of firefly looking thing. Just do they look like squares on the stream? They look like squares on the stream, is fine. Everything's fine.
At the very end of a summer that was all too short, the old man I was living with passed away.
Well, that's a cheery
Even
start.
after all the years we spent together, I never knew his name. Later that evening, I dug a shallow grave in the front yard of our home and buried him there. At that moment, I was truly alone in the world.
It's okay, this do need to chill. That's how you can tell that it's set in Japan. And you can tell it's summer in Japan because, you know, the anime way to portray that is cicadas.
Maybe I'll find something he left behind.
It was a nice cheery intro. Welcome in, Shinra.
It's so dark I can hardly see.
I'm actually going to put the wrist strap on and be safe so I don't throw my Wii remote through the monitor if this game ends up having waggle.
If I crank open the dome, then I can let in some moonlight.
Alright, let's crank that dome. This is quite a cool looking tutorial. Hold B will move the Wii remote to survey your surroundings. I don't have the Wii remote condom that they're wearing in the image here. I've got, it's raw. Partly because obviously I was playing Metroid Other M, and holding one of these Wii remotes sideways when it has the big like protective thing on it, even less comfortable than using it without one. It's insane. No protection for this Wii remote. We are using the wrist strap though. There's some protection. But also I have 2 of these Wii remotes, so it'll be fine. Cards will flash strongly on things worth checking out. Press A to investigate. So B to search, A to check, and that's it. What? Set that off. I can't set it off again now. Something buzzed. I mean, obviously we need to use this because it's glowy. But something else. Let's do this first, I guess. Turn the crank, open the dome. Man, this nunchuck is grimy. Alright, we got some light. Can we interact with it? Doesn't seem like it. What about these books? Oh, we can. No, it was the lantern, not the books. No, it's still just the lantern. It looks like it's other things like this mirror, but no, it's just full stuff to the lantern. Wait, what was... Something keeps like setting it off and then not setting it off. Like it clearly thinks I'm pointing at something I wasn't.
I've always wondered what this weird box was.
Damn kids these days don't even recognize a picture box. Where the video box comes in. There's fire extinguisher. Oh, that's cool. Gives us like a translation. The archives.
It's a record of my growth. I don't remember him doing it every year.
Weird. The phases of the moon. I really like the moon. Right, I think we've looked at everything we can look at in here. See where the fuck this thing is. Probably the moon, somehow. I don't want to leave yet. I don't know if we can leave, but I don't want to try. In case it takes us out. Because I want to go see what's in the archives. Bethan.
Whoa. It's too dark to go in here. I need to find something to light the way.
Okay. Find a flashlight. So we probably can't leave anyway. We'll go upstairs. I hope this game's visible enough on stream. It is dark, but it's meant to be. So Definitely need to go over there. Oh, is there a walk on this telescope? Which is what you should definitely do.
Hey, look. It's his flashlight.
It's his flashlight. Oh, we got an inventory. Light it up. Fireflies hover items can be found. We come across them. Let's go see what there is to discover. Me. Oh, we don't have to do anything with it. It just is our pointer now. That's pretty good. Do we have... Okay, plus or minus zoom in and out the minimap. That button does that. Oh no, there's gonna be stealth in this game. Oh no. And then Z resets the camera. Oh god. This is gonna be so much pointer stuff. The most we have ever done. And we played an on-rail shooter on here. Let's go to archives. Let's go look at books. Can't read ass. Look at that. Oh, I can't get it to do it. Hope that came through. Right. Bye, cat. Oh, it's here. It's just hanging out. Creepy. I don't know how much this game leans into the horror
Stubborn little
stuff.
things. I thought they were all dead, but I see at least one survived.
Dun, dun, dun.
Who's there?
So I'm guessing this is a kind of apocalypse thing. Oh, that's a creepy looking thing.
Who are you? How'd you get in here?
Why should I answer?
Yeah, that's a good point. Press A to attack enemies. Well-timed attacks will make for stronger consecutive blows. I see. There are also invisible enemies called thought entities. Use the flashlight to make them visible. So it's Alan Wake. We're playing anime Alan Wake. Yeah, I'm definitely not getting the timing down for the consecutive strikes. Oh. Tired
How
out.
pathetic. Such a useless creature.
What are you?
I do not have to answer to you.
This mask has no fucking time for our questions. He's like, fuck off, I'm a giant floating mask. I am not talking to you. Ah, it's a fire door. That's where we store the fire.
By the time you read this, I'll already be gone.
Uh-oh.
Before, I didn't really care
Pour
if
myself
I
some
was
juice.
dead or alive. I never considered myself worthy of living. And yet, I knew not even death could atone for my sins. You have no idea how hard it was for me to even write you this letter. It's strange, really, having wasted so much of my life. Now that the end is finally in
Game
sight,
seems dark.
only the time I spent with you gave meaning to my worthless life. Only now do I regret that I didn't open my heart to you more. Why is it, as I say goodbye, that I'm brimming with so many things I wish I could have said to you? Please forgive this foolish old man. Head east of here, and you will reach a tall red tower. I can't promise, but there you might find other survivors besides yourself. When I am gone, you must go east. Now go. And Seto.
Seto.
thank you for everything.
Yeah. Some of the sadness comes through, but yeah, I definitely agree. Also, he's called Seto. Known like anime musicians and stuff like that to do. The music does seem good. From the one weird music video they kind of put into the start of the game. Apocalypse has seen to say you don't need clothes anymore. That's a real thing, yeah. Hey, the cat followed us. Or it's a different cat. That's also possible, I guess. There can be multiple cats. Make sure there's nothing behind us. You always have to check behind you. Because some smart ass game dev is going to be like, oh, I put the most powerful item in the game behind them, and they never looked behind them. Big cat magnet settle.
How beautiful your light is tonight. How truly precious you can be.
I think there's going to be a lot of moon stuff in this. I mean, it's in the title of the game, I guess.
To your eyes and softly touch your hand. Farewell, love, and tomorrow we will meet again. Oh, twinkling star above, how beautiful yet lonesome. As sad and lonesome as I am, I reach out for your hand.
Seto, you were scared.
We are two and one. Farewell, my love.
Fucked it.
Who's there?
Oh, Seto, you really fucked it. She's dead now. If you'd be in stealth mode, this wouldn't have happened.
Are you okay? I hope she's not dead.
That's fair. That's not how you check a pulse. Yeah,
touched
like she
me.
literally just hit the fucking curb.
Yeah, but... Well, I was just making sure you were still alive.
I don't know you.
Well, no, but I'm...
Yeah, that seems smart.
I touched her. No, wait! Don't go! On my journey through the world,
Look, Seto's only
all of
ever
the
known
people I
one
thought
old
I
man his
saw
whole life and a
slipped
weird
away like
floating
they were
mask
just
for a
a
few
mirage.
seconds. We can maybe
that
give him
girl,
this one.
Her cheek was warm to the touch.
This is his first human contact. I think we can let him get some. Also, there's an apocalypse of some kind. That tower seems pretty alive, though.
I was 15 years old at the end of that summer. When we met, the tower in the distance was bathed in crimson light. That one encounter changed my lonely world in ways I never could have imagined. The brief moment we shared transformed me to my very core. Even now, I remember it like it was just yesterday.
Wait, when was it?
The stuffy, humid air, the last vestige of
How
summer.
much of a time skip are we getting here?
Her silver hair fluttering in the breeze.
Man, you met her for like a
The
second.
big silver moon.
Oh shit, I've got a stick now. I don't know what the noise coming out of my rear remote is, but probably not good.
Please help me. I am in danger of malfunctioning. I am not completely waterproof. Please help me.
Is someone there?
Yes, over here. I am here. Please, come quickly. I am here. Please help me.
We gotta find some kind of robot. Find the source of the voice. When you point the Wii remote in the direction of sound, you can hear it coming through Wii remote speaker. Oh my god. I don't know how well this game's gonna work on stream. The further we get into it. The closer you are to the source, the louder the sound becomes. Depending on distance and angle, it'll get louder or softer. Right, that's it. So, point at stuff and we'll hear things. Oh, I see. So that's coming from down there. It's wherever the robot lady is. Yeah, it's a good gimmick. It definitely seems like it uses all the Wii remote features in kind of fun ways. Some fun in this shop. Alright, let's go find the beeping. Come from over there. Yeah, I'm not sure the best way to handle this on stream, because... Oh. I might need to turn... Hold on. Let me... Well, I think I have a noise gate on. Let me try turning the noise gate off, which might potentially make me sound worse. Oh, it's picking up everything. How bad does that sound on stream?
Please help me. I am in danger of malfunctioning. Anyone?
Okay. It's picking up something in the audio levels, but if it's not actually that noticeable on stream, it's fine.
It's coming from the other side. If I crouch down, I should be able to squeeze through.
But if it's picking up what I assume is just the noise of the Wii U like spinning a disc, then it should definitely pick up the noise coming out of the Wii remote. Hey, I figured this one out myself. I already did this. Oh god. Okay, she's like in here. It looks like I'm gonna be able to light a fire here at some point.
It's not
What?
coming from over here.
Does this game have bonfires? Okay.
Warning. I am not completely waterproof. Please help me. I am in serious danger of malfunction. Warning. I am not completely
Not gonna lie,
waterproof.
that's not what I thought they'd look like. That was not what I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't that.
Hello. I am a personal frame, an interactive digital assistant equipped to respond to my user's emotional state, whatever it may be.
Oh no, we need to manage emotions. I'm not
Hey
good at
there,
this one.
my name is... Whoa!
Let us save introductions for later. We are in danger in our current location. I will quickly navigate a route to safety for us.
Thanks.
A route? Navigate?
We must hurry.
Okay.
First, fasten me to your back.
Like this?
Like that, we're getting new
Did you
clothes.
fasten my sides until they made a clicking sound?
You mean these here?
Good. That should do. I am a personal frame, or PF for short. My primary function is analyzing whatever situation my user is in.
Everything is evil.
Welcome
Offering
in.
a sound solution.
Thank you for the raid, Nova.
Well, I don't know.
How is
But I don't think we
Danny
should stay
DeFeo
here.
going?
Of course.
Killing druids.
However,
I
there
did
is
see you
more I
killing
must
some
tell you
druids
about-
earlier.
Later.
Before I tuned out to start streaming myself. I did see you killing the medical druid. That run seems incredibly fun. Got a child killed, then punched several bears to death. Yep. Were those bears actually people? Or were they actually bears? Or both? Is there anything we can interact with here? The good thing is the game kind of told us that there will be little fireflies when we can actually pick something up. So hopefully we don't need to worry too much about like pixel hunting everywhere. I hope. One of the druids we tried to kill got so mad about it she tried to vibrate through reality. Oh no.
You should be able to build a fire there. I believe that a fire will keep adversaries at a distance. When
Rested
tired,
bonfires.
it is also useful for resting.
When did Demon Souls
Oh.
come out?
I guess you're right. Good idea.
And he's left nothing left alive. Fair. Well, you had to save the tieflings from the druids, obviously.
So, do you feel warm?
Where did they
Yeah.
get this pile of wood?
It feels good.
I know we must evacuate. But I am picking up signs of dangerous enemies nearby.
You're the reason most of them got slaughtered by the druids. Oh no.
This stick should do the job. Right?
That will suffice for the time being. But it would be in our best interest to acquire something more durable.
Yeah, we need a better weapon than this thing.
Hold on one moment. There should be something serviceable as a weapon ahead. Investigate, but exercise caution.
Okay.
Right.
Zoom in on a fire pit to build the fire. Sent by fire restores your HP. You can save your progress at fires. Neat. Sounds awfully druidic. He's not a druid, he's just a weird sheltered kid. Oh, there's money in this game. Oh, this is our inventory. That's not a lot of space. Oh, so I can put it in storage or I can stick it in the bin. That's kind of neat. We have nothing in storage. Find an exit to the surface. We have stats. We have level ups. This is how I'm doing right now. I'm supposed to get stronger when I level up. I should check back often. Fair. And the map. Okay, I like this map. But it's pretty useless so far, but it looks nice. To be fair, we haven't actually explored much yet. So we're going to have to fight enemies.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
Oh, we're in Star Wars.
Please stay alert. I am sensing something that means to do us harm, just ahead.
Alright, time to fight some
Do
enemies.
us harm?
Is something wrong?
It's nothing. Never mind.
I kind of feel
now,
like whether the
Please,
combat's
no
actually
matter
any
how
good is going
urgent
to
our
be what
escape,
really
your safety calls for a
makes
stronger
and
weapon.
breaks this game.
Good point. Right it is then.
The dialogue is pretty awkward.
Do you understand? The direction of the hand you hold pencils with.
Oh. But I used my left hand.
Well, in that case, it's,
It's okay. I'm going right.
Alright, that was okay. That was endearing.
Oh yes. I forgot to mention
Yes, the hand you
something.
don't use pencils with.
What is...
Whenever there is something on the ground, a gathering of fireflies just above it will signal its position to you.
Why would fireflies be attracted to it?
We did get a tutorial about this already.
Indeed. Well, maybe it is because it is summer, perhaps?
Even PF is like, I don't know, it's a fucking video game, man. just accept
right.
it. We needed to let you know where items are. Shut up. Hold the Wii remote to your ear and you can hear PF's advice coming through the speaker where you're not sure what to do. See if PF has anything to say. So I can just do that whenever.
You never know when an earthquake could strike. We must make haste.
Damn, we're playing Disaster Day of Crisis. Could be earthquakes. That's a fun mechanic.
You never know when an earthquake could strike.
I mean, it's the same advice, but I'm into that.
For now, please, no matter how urgent.
Oh yeah, they did just have a full discussion about going right, and then I did straight away go left. There's nothing here. I guess they actually mean go into the next room and go right. Let's go into this bathroom. Remember, it's the hand you use the pencil with. That's true. It's the one that Wii remote's on. Not the one that Link uses for his sword. We go fight something in this bathroom, because this seems spooky. Fireflies over there, so there's an item. What weapon are we getting out of this toilet?
Oh, there looks to be some kind of weapon here.
Oh my god, is it?
The stick's made of
Oh, it
bamboo.
is! That is good. I didn't even
Yes.
intend that.
It is a bamboo sword. I believe it will be far more effective than your other stick.
I'm going to leave it mirrored because I think it makes more sense. But that's pretty funny. Hold down to open your inventory. Cool. We're going to use this bamboo sword. Wait, I wasn't paying attention. Which button? Which button equips it? Well, I threw the stick away. I didn't mean to that. Nobody knows what hand to use anymore. Hands don't work, screws don't work, doors don't work. It's true. I can't equip... Well... There's not a lot of buttons, and none of them are doing what I thought they would do. They can rotate it though. Oh, I see. That's a weird thing. So you have to actually click the icon. It's like selecting a character in Smash Brothers. You have to like move the icon, not the weapon. That's kind of fun. This game seems kind of cool.
Pardon me, but there's something else I've been meaning to tell you.
Huh? What is it?
This area is suffused with what one might call malicious thought entities.
I don't know if I would call them that.
Malicious thought entities?
Yes, they are the manifestations of the undying feelings left over from those who passed away.
Oh, those.
They are hostile toward the living and are apt to confront them. This can...
Wait, you're saying that we could be attacked?
Seto, we literally just went and picked up a weapon for a reason.
Simply put, that is exactly the case.
Welcome in, Brad. You're not wrong. Just like having Crash into my chat.
So what do these thought entities look like?
Depending on the sentiment, they can take many forms. What is most troubling is that they are
Like, we literally
invisible
just
to the
went to pick
naked
up a
eye.
weapon. What does Seto think that he was being advised to take it for?
What?
Oh,
what am I
cool.
supposed to
Invisible
do?
enemies.
These thought entities are crippled by light. Therefore, the beam of your flashlight should work.
Okay.
It will strip them of their cover and weaken them considerably.
So, even when the coast looks clear, I should shine my light around to really scour the area?
Yes. So please be
I
careful.
don't know about the sound of this. They're weakened by light, so hold your beam of flashlight to slow their movement, and then hit them with your stick. Oh. Oh, they're cute though. That's not fair. You didn't tell me the enemies would be adorable. They're like jellyfish. This is not a Mikey game anymore, you're right. Mikey can never watch these streams. So wait, did we get experience from doing that? How did I open my inventory? This one. Oh, we got 100 experience from each one. Hey buddy. Oh, there's a ton of them. Oh, fuck. So many malicious thoughts. There's one behind us. There was... There you are. I'm unsure about this invisible enemy mechanic, I'll be honest with you. I assume they can't stay invisible while they attack you. Otherwise this would be kind of fucked.
There's something on the ground.
Everything's anti-Mikey came to approve another one. Yeah, it was pretty Mikey earlier. No, she didn't look like she was wearing underpants.
It is a paper crane. Somebody must have dropped it.
It's a paper
Paper
crane.
crane? Oh, I
The
guess it does look
origami
like a
killer
crane.
was here.
So, you've seen a crane before?
No, just in a book once. It's a big white bird, right?
Correct.
I think we'll probably see her again at
Cranes
some
are a
point.
large waterfowl with prominently long beaks.
You sure know a lot about them. Have you seen them before?
That is not quite correct. I was only referring to the entry I have in my memory banks.
You've never seen them? But the way you describe it...
Oh, yes. Well, it is only a matter of
Can-
possessing the right data.
Can PF see
okay.
things at all?
Well, I hope we get to see one together.
She's like a big
Together.
walkie-talkie.
As in, with me?
Of course.
Agreed.
Seto go realize that he's not in love with the silver-haired girl that he met for 5 seconds, and actually he's in love with the robot lady. Those giant transistors are actually eyes like benders. That makes sense. Yeah, I can believe that. Belongings left behind in this world contain final thoughts and memories of their owners. Bring them to a bonfire and listen closely to hear the stories. Okay. We'll do that in a second. By second, I mean right now, because there's nothing else here.
Beyond this turnstile, we can follow
Less
the train
disrespectful to
tracks out to
disembodied
the
voices.
surface.
Crash, please speak up for yourself as a living AI.
Okay.
She's not disembodied. She's not one of me. Yeah, she has a body. Her body is just a box with an antenna coming out of it.
I can't
But
open
that's a
it.
body. I'm not going to be judgmental of other people's bodies.
Nonsense. Try a little harder.
Do better, kid. Fucking be stronger.
I mean it. It won't budge.
Yeah, no box shaming in here.
Please stand by. I will run another scan over the area. Oh, well, actually, it
Alright, Piff,
might
you
just
let
be
us down
locked.
this time.
We'll never get it
This
open
isn't
then.
Seto's fault.
What do we do?
Oh, I think I skipped through the dialogue. The dialogue's really slow in this.
Just a moment. Ah, yes. A key.
Like, it's very
We
deliberate.
should find the key.
We should find the key.
There is a high probability that it is not far from here.
Okay then. Let's go find that key.
Yep. Find the key.
There is a fire pit where you can build a fire just ahead.
Yeah, Crash.
Perhaps a short respite is in order.
Let's sleep. Let's rest at the bonfire. Level up, you know. Repair our weapons.
Oh man.
No worries, Nima. Thank you for the
Wow,
raid
very
still.
cool.
Enjoy lurking. Alright, let's read this memory.
So, dear, what do you want to play next?
I know. Hide and go seek.
You really do love playing hide and go seek, don't you?
Yep, and I like apples and running races too.
I love all those things too, kid.
Oh, really? But you always come in last place in races.
Damn, relatable.
Yeah, but I still like them, and I love Mommy best.
And Mommy loves you too.
Damn. It's so cute. I hope nothing bad happened to these people that definitely aren't here anymore. You get good, kid. Oh, that was it. Neat. Now what? Oops. Don't save yet. Can we just throw this away now? Because like we did. Can I equip it? No. That'd be funny. I guess we just stick this in here. Because I don't think we need it anymore because we saw the thing. That's a good animation. Maybe it goes a bit too long, but... Oh, we have a letter. That's the letter we saw in the archive. The stone we found in the archive. The old man left you this blue stone. Sometimes it emits a strange light. Perhaps it's because this stone that you've... Perhaps because of this stone that you've come to see ghosts and spirits. Maybe. This is a weird inventory. Like, I'm hitting the D-pad to, like, move up and down it. I don't know where the... There's our flashlight. There's a paper crane. I wonder if that means that this is... like, how many items there are in the game. And they just all have a unique grid spot, maybe? Seto's mum's house was just jet, yeah. I don't think that was Seto's mum, I think that was someone random mum. It's a memory from the item, not from Seto. Yeah, because it seems like it'd be weird to have like, oh, I picked up this letter and it's all the way down here in the inventory, because I don't think I can move stuff. Like I can only, yeah, I can't move anything in it, so it's not a, right, now we'll save. I actually meant to see how far we're from leveling up though. I wonder if enemies respawn. Like, how Souls-like is this? We only have 3 more enemies to level up. I say Souls-like, but this might have came out before, before Demon Souls did. Or a similar time, I guess. Getting noises out the remote. Hey, jellyfish. You're the exact number of jellyfish I need to level up, so... Oh, now there's too many of you. Oh, there's tons of you, Jesus. Let's save here. I don't think I've been hit by these yet, but I don't want to find out what happens if I do get hit by them. I leveled up. Hey, hey, I see you. Get away from my head. Oh. Well, I guess this is a good time that I need to check if they respawn. Same year as Demon Souls. I guess they just came to the same conclusion of resting at bonfires. Right, so we leveled up. Actually, I should have looked and seen if they actually changed our stats, but I wasn't actually paying attention to what our stats were before. Wrong one. 6 plus 20? I don't know what it was before. I don't know if that's a big change. Wait, did we heal? We did, okay. Oh, so right, left on D-pad opens the map. Right gives us like a quick select for weapons and stuff. And up. Oh, up brings up that screen. Okay. I'll definitely forget all that. Demon Souls at the end of year 2. This came out at the start. Oh, nice. So Demon Souls ripped this game off, is what you're saying. Okay, enemies dead respawn. You heard it here first. Demon Souls is just a Fragile Dreams knockoff. Oh, we're one-shotting these things now. Let's fucking grind these jellyfish till we get strong. Also, that damage is literally how much damage we do. Like I said, we do 26, and we're literally doing 26 damage, so it's... FromSoft can't make good games, only rip them off, clearly. Demon Souls is this, Elden Ring, Zelda... Yeah, exactly. Is there any more jellyfish to kill? Or there's an item here. I got a mystery item. There'll be many items you'll come across that will be impossible to discern in the dark. Only by holding them over a bonfire will you be able to examine them. That's kind of cool. I like the art for these tutorial things though, because they're very cute. This game seems good. I don't know about you guys. I think this game seems alright. Elden Ring was very good. I agree. We'll see if we get into a poison swamp at some point or not, and then we'll really know that Miyazaki ripped off. Oh shit. What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck was that? Can I hit these? Oh, I can. Oh jeez, they do so much damage though. Oh, and like every individual hand is an enemy. What the fuck? Oh, I died. It's so much damage.
I still haven't done any.
Haven't done any what? Well, the combat in this game is kind of simple. Like, it doesn't say game over. It's like, yep, you did it. You finished the game. This game's pretty good. Oh, I didn't. It's fine. We'll need to level up again. You're done, baby. It's over. Finito. I need to level up. Like 3 of these will do it. If it's where we are. Oh, maybe not. Oh, yeah, there we go. Hey, I see you. None of that. Alright, maybe we need to like level up more before we fight toilet hands. The camera seems like it keeps... It needs to be my pointer actually. Like it keeps kind of glitching out, but I think it's my pointer's not. Let me adjust that. Is that better? That seems better. PB. That's it. We nailed it. Speedrun. I wonder if you can die to that mask at the start of the
Maybe
game.
I'll sit down.
I didn't mean to come back here actually because we don't have the mystery item. Oh, we don't even have to. I guess we rested at it. Wait, we did tons of damage there. I can figure out how to. Oh, there we go. Slightly faster now. Oh, we did tons of damage there. It's slightly faster than I would have thought it is. Like you need to hit it just before the attack ends. Yep, Mr. Item. Need to go look at it over the bonfire. Are there any more jellyfish? That's where the toilet hands were, right? Oh, there's a bonfire right here. These bonfires are maybe a bit too close together, but I assume
is
that'll
so
change as
soothing.
we get out of the tutorial area.
Nice surprise.
We found Mother's shoe. Oh, is this going to be the same
What's
people from
going
earlier?
on? Oh, another earthquake. Oh dear. I have to get back to her. Oh no. I have to get home. Oh, hold on. I'll be there soon.
I think everything went well for this lady. And she's fine, and she got home. And everything was okay. Wait, did that automatically put itself into storage? Because the crane didn't. Oh, it did. Weird. Let's save before we go die to toilet hands again. My pointer's still kind of glitching out here and there. Like there. It's kind of annoying. It's not actually caused any issues, but it's slightly annoying. How far away from leveling up again? 7 more jellyfish we can level up. Maybe we'll level up one more time and then we'll fight the toilet hands. Which I agree with Crash. Those are legitimately creepy. I feel the fact they're supposed to be, you know, people's thoughts and they're in the girl's bathroom, I think also lends to the creepiness of them. Grabby hands in the girl's bathroom. Oh, I think the fire's freaking out even more. I don't know why it's happening. We'll just need a little bit for now. Alright, we're stronger now. We're so strong. Let's save then go in there. I don't know if we need to go in there, but there is an item in there. So. Or I think there's an item in there. So we may as well go in. You know, if this 100% run that we're doing. That was a joke. We're not got 100% this game. Someone go on how long to beat and tell me how long the 100% is for it. Save successful. I probably should have looked up how long to beat before I even put it on the wheel, honestly. Alright. Hand time. Oh yeah, buddy. I have mastered the sword now. Let's see as I fuck that up twice more. Easy. Eat shit, hands. There's no items in here. Oh no, here we go. Ah, good.
Whoa.
Oh, it's the key.
Is this what I think it is?
We actually did have to come in here.
It is a key. After analysis, I can report that there is a 75% chance that it is the key to the turnstile shutter.
Great. Then that means we can open the shutter now.
Yep.
Wait.
Your genius cell.
Please hold on. At a probability of 75%, that means there is a 25% risk that it will not open for us.
Oh, I just realized because I've turned the filter off, my keyboard's gonna be super loud on here, isn't it? Oh well, you guys have to live with that. How long to beat Fragile Dreams? This game is, on average, just under 13 hours long. Completionist, just under 17.5, or just over 17.5 hours long. Which we're definitely not going to do, but we might do the main story. And this game seems cool. I'm happy to stick with this for a bit at least.
75% is way more.
I suppose that is a valid statement. Yes. It might work.
I mean, assuming people in chat are enjoying it. I'm not going to force people to watch a game if they're not interested.
A 75% probability.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yes. We will be fine.
We'll be fine. Look, worst case scenario, the key doesn't work.
Now, let us go open the shutter.
Unless this machine knows something we don't know. The worst case scenario is just the key doesn't work and we don't open the thing. We're back to square one. The cool robot graffiti. Right. Well, that's terrifying.
Well now, this
What
is
the
a
fuck?
rare treat. It's not every day I chance upon someone.
Whoa,
This game might be
who are
alright.
you?
Is this a merchant?
Oh yes, pardon me. I roam these parts in search of unique
Oh, he's terrifying
treasures.
glowing red eyes in there.
And if I do say so myself, you seem to have a few eye-catching pieces. Care to barter, my lad?
I've picked up some stuff, but none of it's that great.
Well, have it your way. In honor of this most destined encounter, I have a gift. It's on the house.
Alright. Got healing item.
Use this dandy little number to ease your tired, troubled traveling self.
Thank you.
And with that, I must be on my way. Until we meet again!
I hate his voice so much. They managed to make him so creepy. What the fuck? Also, I'm really interested in that poster beside us now.
He's gone. Who the heck was that guy?
That is a much warranted question. Well, regardless of his nature, we too should hurry on our way.
We should. In this decaying world, you can still find food to replenish your energy. Different ones offer different levels of healing. When you're reaching the end of your rope, there's no bonfire in sight. These come in handy. Okay, so bonfires will be more spread out there. As for expiration date, that's another matter. Press right to cycle through your on-hand weapons. Cool. Oh, there we go. It's teaching us what I just figured out. Neat. I can't remember what it says. It looks like it says game something? Game evil? I don't know what it says. This one's in Japanese. It has two people talking on the phone and then has like the Matrix shit on it. So I think this is meant to be a Matrix parody? Or like an advert that uses Matrix stuff? Oh wait, is this Japanese? It's hard to tell because it's low resolution, and this does look like it just says game. Hard to tell. Is this one higher res? Of course not, that'd be stupid. Be weird if they had one high res version of the poster. Jellyfish, are you back? You are. I've killed jellyfish so many times. Why go up the stairs though? I like these jellyfish because they're really easy to kill. Right. There's a hole in the ground, which just goes back to where we were. Entry
This
to the
leads
mall.
to the mall in an underground station. However, it is currently locked and inaccessible.
Oh, I bet this key isn't going to work on the exit. We're going to have to go into the mall. Alright, let's go. How far are we from leveling up? Not that one. Not that one. No, we're quite far from the next one. Also, does our weapon have... It does have durability. That's not good. Well... They look like the ruins of the train station with crystal bears. You're not wrong. Oh, it did open. I was wrong, though. The key was for here.
Ahead is the train platform. And beyond that, the tracks.
It kind of does look like the train station with crystal bears.
If we follow them, they will lead us outside.
If we find like a massive clock in the middle of a room.
Another earthquake!
If there is a stronger quake, The structure could be compromised.
You mean we'll be in trouble?
Yeah.
Yes. Grave trouble. We must hurry. But
But what?
I sense great danger coming from the platform. Do not linger while traversing. And do not strain yourself. Turning back is sometimes the most appropriate action. The likelihood that you will have a safe passage is... I mean, you'll be fine. I'm sure.
Okay. We're gonna be fine. She said so.
Yeah. Together we'll be fine.
Yes.
She's just like, these ghosts are not gonna kill a weird robot thing. I'm good.
You can build a fire over there. Believe me when I say that rest and retreat can be heroic in their own ways.
Yeah, R&R, rest and retreat, right? I got a mystery item. Right, let's go hear what happened to these people. But I assume this bonfire's the only one we're going to get for a little bit.
I hope I'm not getting sick.
It's a toy duck.
Don't let in any strangers while I'm gone.
Okay.
Don't worry. Mommy will be back very soon. Has Mommy ever broken a promise to you?
Promise.
That's right. I promise.
Don't make these kind of promises.
Mommy,
Yes, sweetie?
come back home quick. Okay?
Well, I think that went fine for her. I'm going to be saving this game a lot because it does seem like when you die you have to load a save. So I'm just going to save every time we hit a point. They graffitied this. That reminds me of what was that PSP game? It was like a beat 'em up and you started fights with people by like making eye contact with them. And you like shot lasers out your eyes, and when the when the lasers connected, that started the fight. I can't remember the name of it. I realise also that's a really obscure thing to ask people about. Oh, there's ghost dogs. Maybe it isn't making him. Oh my god, the Wii remote is... Oh god. Oh, did I? Oh yeah. So what happened? I must be dead soon. Hey buddy. I don't have a lot of health left. I don't want to use my healing item. It's really hard to see the enemies when they're in front of you. Because like, Seo takes up not a huge amount of space, but it is the space where enemies are. He's not a big kid, but you know, he is definitely in front of the enemies a lot. Alright, let's rest up. They'll respawn, but we got fucked up by those dogs, so. There weren't enough dogs in this last game, that's true. It's true.
Nice surprise.
In neither of them, there wasn't really any dogs in Medieval either. Oh, we got money for that one. Okay. When you defeat enemies, sometimes they leave behind precious items. When you bring these to the bonfire, they'll automatically be converted into money that you can use in transactions with the mysterious merchant, which is the weird, creepy chicken man we saw earlier. Cool. I want to save them. Again. We actually have money now, though. That's good. I wonder if there's gonna be like better weapons and stuff to buy, or if it's just gonna be like healing items. Let's go over this way this time. How far away from leveling up this time? We're pretty close. We could try killing the dogs again. But we might just be able to get on the train somewhere. Although I would assume that the entrance to the train that's open is going to be next to the dogs. Oh, they didn't respawn. They're not like the jellyfish. Ah, good. A creepy train. And Robo Lady said that there was some, like, dangerous presence on the train, right? Oh god, it's the hands again. Oh jeez. They spawned on me. Oh my god. Alright. How much health did we lose? Oof. Oof. I guess this in the corner is probably our health bar, but it's kind of like hard to check. Maybe we didn't miss anything here, right? There was nothing with fireflies. I was saying there's nothing with fireflies as we look at a thing with fireflies. Neat. It's definitely got a cool aesthetic. Oh, there's a bonfire. Cool. That's handy. Because those hands fucked us up. Also, again, grabby hands on a train, like an underground. That's kind of... It's kind of grim. The two places we've encountered those grabby hands were the girls' bathroom and the train. This game knows what it's doing. But will it have anything to actually say about what it's doing? Who knows? Oh shit, daylight. That's a nice looking skybox. Wonder if we're gonna get another song. So was the strong presence she was talking about just the dogs? The dog's dick fucked me up, I guess. Or maybe it's the hands. That's pretty nice looking.
The sky's red. It must be dawn.
Yes. Dawn is the time of day when the sun is below the horizon. Sunlight bounces off particles in the upper atmosphere and scatters, causing the phenomenon of a colorful sky.
It's an
With
educational game.
today's strong winds, more particles must have been kicked up to result in the exceptionally deep red we perceive now. Excuse me, are you listening?
Yeah. It's so red and pretty.
That's what she said.
Yes, it is stunning.
Just
Absolutely
beautiful.
stunning.
By the way, I've been meaning to ask you something.
Yes? Being of assistance to my user is my primary protocol. Ask anything you so desire.
Well, before, I saw a silver-haired girl. Have you seen her around here?
A silver-haired girl, you say? Just a moment. Please stand by while I conduct a search of my databanks. I should mention that an ongoing power shortage has restricted access to the compressed files in my database.
Oh no, she can't
I
unzip
wasn't able
things.
to scan all of my records, but...
You know her?
Yes, I mean, no.
Which is it?
Pardon me. It is just that of the memory I was able to access, a silver-haired girl might
Yeah,
or
even
might
as
not
others.
have shown up.
You've seen her.
It's possible. And yet, it's possible I have not.
Wait,
Oh, so you haven't seen her.
if she's in your
But
memory
wait,
banks,
I might be able to estimate where the girl would be at present. This is only a theoretical calculation,
based on
but
what?
when it comes to the general location of people, the underground shopping mall in the station we were just at was always lively with crowds.
This
So
seems like a bit of a
perhaps
stretch.
Some people might still be there?
Yes, in the past, it was always bustling with activity, so there is a possibility it is that way now.
Okay, how do we get to this underground mall?
The entrance to the underground mall can be found on the second floor of the station where we just were.
We just got out.
However, that passage is
Do
always
not go
kept
back
locked.
in.
Oh, but do not worry. There is a chance that the key to the passage is being kept in that storehouse up ahead.
Ah, good.
I'd say it is at least an 80% chance.
That incredibly not
All right,
creepy
then.
at all
Let's head to that
storehouse.
storehouse, right?
Affirmative. Inside, you will need to locate a thin, gold-plated key.
Why do I feel like this is going to be our
And
first
one
boss
more
fight or
thing.
something?
Please be careful.
Yeah, I know.
Also, more and more PF does the, there's 80% chance that this thing is there stuff. It reminds me so much of Fi from Skyward Sword, which is one of the weaker parts of Skyward Sword. As a Skyward Sword apologist, oh, there's a cat. Is it the same cat? Hold on, there's a noise coming at the remote when I point over here. Does sound like a frog, but I can't do anything with it. I can just tell that it's there. Oh, that's that, I guess. There was a frog there. Rest of the bonfire.
So comfy.
Nope. Not what I meant to do. Let's keep going. See if there's a boss fight in here, like I predict. Is that noise? Fireflies? I don't know if fireflies made noises like that. Well, it's an educational game. Nothing over here. There's a cat. The water, or is that just field? Just feel like Seth will just walk to the weird Eiffel Tower thing The sky is really nice looking. Kinda wish I could turn the UI off to take a screenshot. They did a very good job of making the skies in this like game look kinda really nice. Like not just, you know, for a Wii game, just in general, they look very nice. So we go around the back of this place first. Collect some stuff. No? Okay. I guess you can just walk over items to pick them up as well. This is an invisible wall here. Nothing down this side. Alright, let's go in the storehouse and die probably. Can I just mash it? Oh, you get a different combo if you mash it. I see. That's kinda neat.
Who is it? Mommy?
I have a feeling this isn't the person.
I hear someone. Whoa!
It's a ghost girl. I don't think this is going to go well.
You're not my mommy.
Hi. Look, I'm trying to find a key, but I guess you wouldn't know about it.
Hey! Play with me! Play a game with me!
Now, be a good girl and listen. We're looking for a gold...
I am too listening. You're looking for this key.
Oh shit, she has the key.
It's golden thin, so
There is a 97% chance that it is the key we need.
listen. Could you let us borrow that key?
No.
We are on a very important mission. Please.
No. It's sparkly and pretty. It's mine.
Are we on a very important mission? I think we were just kind of trying to leave, and then we're trying to go back in to look at a girl. I don't know if that's an important mission.
Stop being so bratty and hand it over immediately.
A girl that's probably not even in there. Because her logic is just, people used to hang out in malls, maybe she's in the mall.
I'm scared.
Maybe she's doing the shopping centre, you know? Where people hang out.
Oh, come on. Don't cry.
Don't cry.
I'm scared.
Oh, is this gonna be like a Persona type thing where like her strong emotions are gonna create
What
something?
should we do?
Beats me.
Play with me.
Huh?
I said play with me.
Oh, okay then. What do you want to play?
Hide and go seek.
Of course.
Hide and go seek?
Yeah. I'll go hide and you find me. If you win, I'll give you the key.
It seems we must comply.
We must.
Yeah, guess so. Okay then. Come on. Let's play hide and go seek.
Yay! I'm gonna go hide now.
Or being able to go invisible seems like an unfair advantage.
Ready?
The girl's visible, but listen carefully and you can hear her voice through the Wii remote speaker. Louder her voice, closer you are. When you think you have her, press A, but every time you mess up, she'll find a new place to hide. Okay. That's gonna be a pain in the ass.
Gotcha!
Gar. That's kind of fun. That's a silly mechanic.
Phooey, no fair! You found me! You just got lucky. You won't get me next time.
Uh...
Gotcha!
My strategy is kind of just to walk in the direction that I can hear her in, and then keep walking until I don't hear her anymore, and then take a couple steps backwards. Because it means I've walked through her.
Find me. So there. Ha!
Oh no, she can move around.
This time, if I hear your footsteps, I'll just run away and you'll never catch me.
Oh. My strategy's not gonna work this time. I'm hoping that just being in the crouch mode is enough. But the sound is like coming from... over here, I think?
Gotcha!
So she's like, if I can hear your footsteps, then I'll move. But if you walk through me, I won't. So the plan still worked.
Uh-oh, you found me. That means you win the game.
Great, give me
Wow,
the key.
you were good at that. It wasn't easy finding you.
It wasn't? I'm pretty good at hiding, but I'm not so good at running.
It's the little girl from the
and
memories.
Don't forget this. It's for you.
She enjoys
Here
running,
you
but
go,
she's
like
not good
I
at it.
promised.
Thank you. Here, you can have this in exchange. I found it in the station.
Oh, this is my mommy's. She made it special just for me.
Where's the use back out? Let's get rid of these ghosts.
You came back to get me.
Her mum's not looking quite as
sweetie. I'm sorry it took me so
I don't
long.
know, fully human as her.
Mommy.
What is it?
You lost your textures.
Mommy.
Yes, yes. Now what is it?
Please, Mommy.
Welcome in, Monica.
Please, don't leave me alone ever again.
Aww.
I won't. I promise.
You promise.
Just in time to be called Mommy. Yeah, welcome in, Mommy Monica. We just helped a little ghost girl reunite with her ghost mum by playing hide and seek.
She's gone. I guess I'm all by myself again.
Yeah, I can see why that'd be disappointing, so.
Well,
but you have your robot friend.
Technically speaking, you were not by yourself.
What? Oh yeah. I guess you're right. I've still got you.
Yes.
BFFs for life. Alright, we got the key. Anything else in here? I'm gonna assume not, but... Yeah, so it was kinda... being kinda shitty to this RoboPal. Like, you can't even argue, be like, oh, you know, it's not a person, so of course he's like that, but that also wasn't a person, that was a ghost. That was something that used to be a person. Alright. So there's nothing else in here. I thought for sure that was gonna be like a boss fight or something. That was much more pleasant than I thought it was gonna be. Maybe this isn't that kind of game. Like, it does kind of feel like the combat is not the focus, which is good. Let's see, we got a mystery item, right?
Is this?
Let's read this letter.
I'd always meant to see you, but now it's too late. The world is over, but might wake up again. But it doesn't matter. You'll never find this. And even if you do, what will the awakened world be like?
I wonder if it would have changed
Will
anything
the
if we'd looked at this
stars
before
still
we
be in the sky?
did the Ghost Girl stuff.
Will the moon still shine down on us?
I assume not. What do we have in our inventory just now? It's looking kind of full. 2 health items, the key. Get rid of this key. Bamboo sword. I think our weapons might be getting repaired when we rest at the bonfire. Maybe not. I don't know if this is a... It looks like it's a... I think it's the same for both. Maybe they don't do... Maybe they don't take damage. Maybe I'm wrong. I kind of thought they were destructible. But maybe they're not. We'll just get better weapons if we go. Oh, hi dogs. Good doggies. Good doggies. Oh, bad doggy. I'm really not good at this combo. Hey, at least mash it. Is this a Mikey stream? You know, there's been so many jokes about this being a Mikey stream already. You've been missing out. Pressing down will bring up your own hand screen. 3 to 4 grid regulates how many items you can carry at a time. So basically it's telling me your inventory is full. You put items in your briefcase. Cool. Oh, my inventory is literally full. Let's put this. Oh, I can't put it in my briefcase just now. Oh, this item's like it's proper Tetris. Nope. Nope. I don't think it would even let me throw my flashlight away. That'd be kind of fucked. I want this here. This isn't gonna make any difference. I only have one space. And this is 3 spaces. I can't pick this item up. Like, I bet that item's gonna go away when I go to this bonfire. There's a cat. I don't know if the microphone caught my remote speaker, but the cat was meowing.
Am I starting to talk to myself?
Nah, you're talking to your robot buddy.
Nice surprise.
Okay. Oh shit, it's the creepy chicken man.
You are my valued customer indeed.
Is he just gonna randomly show up so we can buy items? I could buy a cat toy. So we could play with cats. I don't know if there's actually a use for that, but I mean, of course I'm gonna buy it. It's not, this isn't the question. I guess this is what these look like. It's maybe not a destructibility. But why would I be able to buy new ones? Can I sell these? No.
Well then, this is goodbye.
See you, chicken man. Put the cat toy and press A with the cats nearby to lure them to you. But why? Like, is there a... I mean, it'll be fun to play with cats, but is there a use for this? Is there a mechanic around it, or is it just you can play with cats? I'm not complaining either way. But... Oh wait, I didn't do the thing I actually wanted to do.
So
I
comfy.
wanted to clear my inventory a little bit. Especially now we've got a goddamn cat toy in it. What's not even there? Put the stick away, because it doesn't seem like we need it. Our healing name's there. Put it in the briefcase. Where's the cat toy? Corn layer. Healing candy drop. Like, so we can have multiple of these. Just not sure why. Well, thank God it only takes up one spot. Let's go play with the cats, I guess, and hope that the dogs don't respawn. They didn't last time, so hopefully they don't this time. Let me also open this up. Right. Cat here. Cat toy. Cat toy's been equipped. It'd be nice if the camera let me see what I was doing. Hey, cat. It doesn't seem to care. Like a real cat. It doesn't really seem to care. Is this just how close it brings the cat? Alright, that seems pointless. I don't think I understand this game. Realistic cat gameplay, yeah. You're trying to play with it and the cat's just like, eh. Nah, I'm good. That's cats for you. Cats will play when they want played, but they don't. You can't just decide for them. Oh shit. I wonder if we ever get a ranged attack. So the item didn't come back, and even though the dogs did, they didn't drop the same item, which is annoying. We missed out on wherever that item was. I hear more dogs. I don't see more dogs though. Oh, here we go. Oh god. Come on. Level 4 now. Killed enough dogs to get stronger. There doesn't seem to be a sprint button either. This seems to be our maximum moving speed. Oh, are the hands gonna respawn? Bonfire up again.
Oh, I better warm up.
There's some strays around, I need to be strong. Be strong. Just start wailing on them to get powerful. It's the most effective training regimen. How do you think the Rock got it? I shouldn't say that's laws against saying things like that. Pet feed them with might. Yeah, that makes that's more reasonable. Yeah, I hear. Oh, they're jellyfish this time. Thank God. Jellyfish are easy. Because we can one-shot them. What? They're strong jellyfish. What the fuck? Oh, that one dropped something. Healing candy drop. There's not much to this combat and I'm still bad at it. Oh, there's like another. I keep saying there's not much to this combat and then finding out there's like other timings for attacks. So if I do. I don't know how I did that. These guys are giving me so many healings. More sounds coming out of the Wii remote. Probably a boop if I'm allowed. Yeah. If you're allowed. Like I'm saying, that's the thing with real cats. You can only really pet and play with them if they want to. Otherwise they'll just fuck off.
Oh man.
They'll either fuck off or they'll make you fuck off. Alright, let's put some of these healing items into our storage because I don't think we actually need them. We haven't used any. I'm gonna be an idiot and keep this fucking cat toy in my inventory even though it clearly doesn't do anything. But you know, what if it does? What if we need it for something? Something crazy. Times it. Oh jeez. Port 7. Isn't someone on at 7? Who's on next? I do appreciate a cat, but as an ex-dog owner, especially if a very dumb golden, give me the giant noses for bipping. Yeah. Shenra's on at 7. Cool. We'll just keep playing till then and we'll just raid Shenra then. That makes sense. I didn't really mean to go this long. It's not actually that long, it's only been a couple hours. But I kind of thought Metroid would take more time, but I finished it instantly. So. There seems to be a running theme with me like finishing games on stream where I'm like, this is going to be the finale one where we fight the final boss and do all this stuff, and then it just ends. I used to be more of a cat person than a dog person because growing up we had 2 cats, and as a kid I was scared of dogs because there was like a big barking dog at the end of our street, so it scared me. But then eventually, I think I'm probably more of a dog person now. We had a wee border terrier for a long time. And a Tibetan terrier. And they're both adorable and idiotic and loud. Where am I going? Where you go up the stairs? I know where I need to go. Tibetan terriers in particular are adorable dogs because they don't look real. They usually look like big scruff balls, like big balls of fur that are somehow moving around. They're bizarre. These ones I can one-shot. This is what I want. Fuck you guys. I'm level 5 now. I can definitely one-shot. All this damage. I don't know what the difference is in the timing of that. The fact that you can both see thoughts behind their eyes and absolutely nothing is favorite. Yeah. Our dog, like the first dog I ever had, the border terrier, a little border terrier called Johnny Cash. And he seemed like a complete fucking idiot. But then the thing that made us realize that, you know, he was smarter than he seemed is one time we had like, you know, family over and, you know, we're doing stuff and made like a big plate of sandwiches and left them on the table. And Johnny was like outside playing with another dog. And
Right. I am.
me and my sister were sitting in the living room where the sandwiches were.
After all,
Everyone else was like outside doing stuff. And then Johnny just like came in, walked round the table, never once stopped, like just walked round the circular table and like kind of tilted his head, grabbed the sandwich and kept walking and walked back out again. Just one fluid movement didn't stop, didn't wait, didn't like make a mess, like knocking things over, jump up onto the table or anything. He just one fluid movement was like, I'm taking a sandwich and getting the fuck out.
Yes,
It was a
of
perfect
course.
operation.
Because you
We were
have
more
me.
impressed than annoyed. My bomb was honestly the biggest idea ever. One time I tied him outside of a store, and when I came out, another dog stole him by the leash. He was fine, but starting a new life somewhere, that's pretty good. Alright, we're going to the shopping centre. We'll bum around in here for 10 minutes. What's Shinra doing tonight? Is Shinra doing Pokemon?
Hey,
Didn't actually
is
look at the
this?
schedules. Oh, he's doing Cyberpunk. I see. I probably won't stick around for that one because I haven't played Cyberpunk yet. Or I've played some of Cyberpunk, but I was waiting for like the big update they've just done, and now I'm gonna go back to it and play it at some point. I just need to find time because there's too many other games. You know, like Fragile Dreams. Important brand new releases. Hey, what's that? Is that a ghost? Oh no, that might just be a real thing.
This place used to be alive with bustling shoppers.
You're here, Shinra. That was the best time to play Cyberpunk. Yeah, I need to.
In the past, maybe. Looks pretty run down now.
Yeah,
I surmise that
this
the
looks like
frequent earthquakes took their toll on
this
it.
looks like Cumbernauld Old Town Centre.
Indeed.
Seems that way.
Like the
Well,
old
let's look
part.
around.
This is a very niche reference. If you've never seen Cumbernauld Old Town Centre, please Google it because it's one of the ugliest buildings in all of the UK. Oh, it's a cat. Should we try to play with the cat again? See if we can actually do anything this time. Yeah, go Google it. It's sitting there. Nope. The moment I try to go towards it, it leaves. I don't think this does anything. Oh, I need to mash it. We did it. Successfully played with cat. Look at it. This would be more impressive if I did it outside where there was light. Can I like lure it back towards the bonfire? Come on. Oh, it doesn't want to go any further. Come on. No? Okay, well, I guess that's it. You'll sort of be able to see me play with the cat. Alright, game of the year. Reminds me of a sculpture we had now demolished called The Lovingly by Everyone, rough translation. Pentapenis. That's a good name. Yeah, Cumbernauld Town Centre was like a brutalist like shopping centre that, as far as I'm aware, was never properly finished. Something's growling up here. Oh, that's a big dog. That's... Oh, that's a big dog. With like a pentagram shaped phallically. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to picture that in my head. Like we know one of those big dogs? No, there is. I think I'm getting slightly better at the combat on this. Hey, Jelly. Where'd it go? I guess they must just spawn when you're in like range, and then they despawn if you move out of range. Interesting. Come on. Okay. Go further back, because you'll despawn. I'm falling for this again. There's light here. I don't know if that means anything or if it's just to look cool. Can't. I don't think I can open these doors, right? No. I kind of forgot that I can scan stuff. Don't know if we've missed anything as a result of that. But yeah, Cumberland Old Town Centre is like a notoriously bad building in the UK, in Scotland in particular.
Look at these huge doodles on the floor. I wonder if that girl's behind them.
So many
That
other
girl.
people could have done this.
Do you mean the silver-haired girl?
Yeah. She had the most beautiful voice.
The most beautiful voice.
I
Oh. You
can
know,
add
I
value
actually
with her
kind of
singing,
thought that you meant
but her drawing
Pentagon, and my
skills
brain
are
kind of substituted
substandard.
it, because Pentagram would be even wilder. So you're saying it was like a very angular looking penis?
That's not a nice thing to say.
Not a
But
star-shaped one.
It could be more enjoyable speaking with me than with that girl.
Huh? What'd you say?
She's jealous.
Nothing at all.
Our robo buddy's jealous of this girl that we just met. Or haven't even met. She's ran off. Oh, we need a key. Yeah, you know what? I don't even speak any other languages, so I ain't gonna criticize. I struggle with English. It's the only language I know. Right, we need to find the key. So I assume one of these doors must open? Oh, that one. Aha! It's the one. What the fuck? What the fuck? I think they're healing each other. Yeah, I got a cat toy. Oh, do you think one of the cats has the key? Damn it. These ghosts. No. God damn it. This is the hardest combat encounter yet. It doesn't seem like you can hit them multiple times either, they just vanish. Turn around. Not two hits in that time. Damn it. Is that all of them? I didn't like those things. They were annoying. So I think one of the...
Some crates are surprisingly fragile.
Okay.
And observe.
Yeah, I'll go break the box, I get it. Truly is a Dark Souls game. It's probably this crate that looks different from all the other ones.
Hey.
Oh, the key was in here. Okay, never mind. I thought it was given as a cat toy because one of the cats is going to have the key.
That's amazing.
Huh? No. Well, yes. Actually, I knew all along.
I don't believe you.
That's awesome. You know, being with you makes me feel like anything is possible.
Let's catch up. I hardly know any of the shapes past square either. Fair. I know pentagon, octagon. The rest are all just a pain. The trick is the first part of it is like, you know, pent is 5, hex is 6. Sept doesn't come off very often. You know, people don't really talk about septagons.
Please. It was nothing.
Octagons, nonagons, decagons. I don't know what's after that, because you never need to care about it. Wait, what did we select? Oh. I didn't want that. It's pretty easy to remember too, but my brain sometimes wants to use the French as well. No, I can understand that. I've definitely done that before. Worker guns, I wish. I had a worker gun today. I had no work today. I've sat and watched people stream games, played games, I've streamed games. And we're gonna finish up now. Let's go through the door first. Hopefully there's a... This game seems pretty lenient with like giving you bonfires constantly. So I assume we're probably going to get one up in the next room. And then we'll save. We'll quit out. I think I'll keep playing this. I think I'll update the schedule. We'll play this again on Wednesday. And Friday. I might not stream on Friday. Because I'm going away on Saturday. Not anywhere far. Just going to go visit family. But as a result, I might not stream on Friday night. We'll see. What'd I tell you? Bonfire right here.
It's pitch black in here. I hope we'll be all right.
I'm sure there won't be any big dogs that
We
will
will
attack
be
us.
fine. After all, I am with you.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you found that key under the crate, too.
Precisely. We will be fine together.
Yeah. We're together.
Yes.
It's so awkward. I kinda love them. I'll be honest. I've already grown attached to these two idiots.
So comfy. Is this?
What do we find? Fluorite. Give us the money. Right. Save. But yeah, I don't know about people in chat, but I'm quite liking this, so I think I might keep playing it. It seems interesting. I'm not sold on the combat. It seems super basic and not... The timing's like weird. But... Still not sure what it is. Well, the timing difference is there. But whatever. Anyway. This game seems fun. I think I'm going to keep playing it. Yeah, it seems interesting. Fatal Frame vibes. Yeah, I can see that. It's definitely less horror-ish than Fatal Frame. Like, it's got the horror elements, but it's more of like a kind of... I don't know how to describe it. Emotional... It's more emo than it is horror, I think. It's a game that you could listen to Paramore under, you know?